First editions of the Chronicles of Narnia signed by C.S. Lewis. What collection did you have as a child that would have been worth a fortune now had your parents not thrown it away? South African coin collection that my older sister threw away without consulting anyone. I had the complete collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures. I packed them into a box and put them away, then later when looking for them I couldn't find them. Asked my mother. Oh, those, I threw them out. You weren't playing with them anymore. Nearly all of the first 24 editions of virtually every Marvel series, from the Fantastic Four to Spider-Man, including the Amazing Tales in which he was introduced, to Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos. Basically all of them. At a comic book store, I was once looking at some collector's editions of those comics priced at about $1,500 to $2,400. I said to the clerk, "Man, I used to have all of these." The clerk, whom I'm sure was Matt Groening's model for Comic Book Man, without even looking up said in a bored voice, "Do you know how many times a day I hear that?" My mom had a collection of signed Beatles records that she threw away after she converted to Christianity because played backward they summon the devil or something. For years I was hoping to inherit it when I grew up. All I think it summoned was poverty. My brother had a bunch of first edition Pokemon cards that he spent over a year collecting. Mom took them away for getting in trouble at school, and they were never seen again. I never technically owned it, but I got to see it once. My grandfather's comic book collection. He would be 92 if still alive. It's in a chest in the original family home. Inherited by a hoarder who will probably lose it all someday. Honestly, better than that is the huge luggage trunks the family brought to the States when moving from Czechoslovakia in the 1800s. They are in the same attic. Geez, after my mom died, my dad met this crazy, Jehovah's Witness bitch, and one thing led to another. About a month before my high school graduation we got into a huge fight over something and she burned my collection of old D&D books and magic cards. Complete collections. Every first edition book in good condition signed by Gygax. Guess my brother knew him at some point. The real kicker? I rode the wave of the original Magic the Gathering launches back in the day, complete sets of the original series through Homelands. All burnt to a crisp. Every once in a while when I want to be depressed about never being able to retire I look up the card values. I had a huge collection of Magic the Gathering cards all in mint condition dating back all the way to Alpha that I collected as a young kid. My psycho mom decided that I had too much stuff that I enjoyed and threw out my collection and a bunch of other stuff. I had over 1,500 Pokemon cards and I gave them to my little cousin because he had a short-lived Pokemon phase and now I'm wondering how much it was really worth. I had every single Beyblade released in the US until I went to college and my mom gave them away to a worthy cause. Turns out she dumped them in the trash. The man who drives the garbage van told me about them and asked me if he could take them home for his kid. I agreed anyway. My G.I. Joes, Transformers, and He-Man, plus a bunch of Star Wars stuff. I don't know if they would be worth a fortune, but it wouldn't be small potatoes. Magic the Gathering cards. That Black Lotus and pretty much a lot of banned cards would be gold by now. I remember when State Quarters first came out, my father sent me a collection of every first edition State Quarter and one time I went to show my friends a while later and couldn't find them. I asked my mother and she said she had to use them for laundry. We were very poor at the time so I understand, but I was a little sad by it as well because it was one of the only things my father ever sent me. I had this book my dad gave me as a child. It was my absolute favorite book and got lost somewhere in our various moves, which devastated me. My brother very thoughtfully went to buy it a couple of years ago as a replacement and it turned out it was a limited copy, no longer in print and worth a bloody fortune. Needless to say, he didn't buy it, but it's on my bucket list to get a copy. I just googled it again and looks like there's a couple of copies available and much more affordable than they were a couple of years ago. Maybe my dream will come true sooner than later. Update: there is no way I'm going to find an original copy of this book. My copy was called House by Mouse by George Mendoza until that a different version was released called Nita House. Calm is Mouse which has different text. For anyone interested, here's a great article about it that basically sums up how I felt about the book and has some pictures as well. I know it's just a silly kid's book, but I loved it. Approx 20 kilograms of Lego bricks and accessories. The Blue Railway alone would be a fortune today. My mother gave them away and couldn't remember to whom. Technically a felony. Barbies. My family wasn't super well off growing up, but for some reason, they allowed my sibling and I to amass dozens of Barbies, hundreds of clothes, 2 doll houses, 3 cars, 1 RV, a plane, and so fucking much else besides. When I was 12 and had outgrown it all, my dad decided it was time to pass them on to younger cousins or otherwise get rid of them. Looking back, we should have held on to most of it. I had celebrity Barbies, anniversary Barbies, Barbies that came with horses, or were ballerinas, or were otherwise novel in the Barbie world. I literally spent 10 years collecting Barbies and now don't even have a single shoe to show for it. I actually still collect those smushed pennies you can make from a crank machine at tourist attractions. I'm very proud of my original World Trade Center smushed penny. I was in the Trade Center 2 weeks before 9/11 happened. It scares me to think about how unlucky those tourists were that day. I had a 32-gallon plastic tote full to the top with Legos from years of birthdays and Christmas, but due to my father's many divorces they have been lost to time. I still dream about them to this day. The original Transformers in boxes. Had all main characters and nearly all of the smaller bots. Got 'em when I was 11, 12 or so in the mid-80s. Left for the military and mom had a huge garage sale. I had mined 8 bitcoins at age 16. Kept them in a hard disk. When they grew in value I searched for an hard disk to know that my mom sold it to a 19 years old for $50. I still curse my mom for doing that. Breyer horses and OG My Little Pony toys. As a horse girl, they were my favorite things. I would get my whole herd out every day and make them fight little horse wars in the hallway. One day, an adult trying to get to the bathroom stepped right into the heart of the infamously bloody Battle of Bridle Creek, and my dear Palomino warrior Queen Sundance was crushed underfoot. Broken legs, an injury that no horse royal can recover from. Also, my stepdad was mad about it and packed all of my horses up for the Goodwill glue factory. Still mad. When I was a young man of 11 or 12, 1968 or so, I found my dad's collection of Playboys. Every month for the first 5 years or so of publication. I would peruse them, read the articles, gaze in wide wonder at the pictures. My mom figured out that I had found them and made dad get rid of them. They would be worth several monies today. McDonald's Happy Meal toys from the late 80s, early 90s. My mother had collected and hoarded these until her death in 2003. My father ended up selling them at a yard sale during the 2008 recession to make more money. He sold them for $1 a piece. Some of those Ty Beanie Baby Bears she had collected are worth at least $250 a piece today. When I was a kid I used to collect basketball cards. I would go with my dad to the flea market on weekends and buy packs from this old lady that had a table selling cards. One day she convinced me to get a pack from this new series one of the big companies was releasing. It cost a bit more than the packs I would normally get, but she got me excited about it. When I got home I opened the pack and among the cards was this really strange one that was just of a hardwood floor. I turned it around and read that I had won a framed autographed Sean Kemp card. I wasn't really a big fan of his, but I had never won anything in my life so I was really excited. I had to mail this card in and they would send the framed autographed one to me. I asked my mom if she could do it and she said sure. I would come home every day and check the mail right away to see if it came, but months passed and nothing. I asked my mom if she had mailed it and she said that she had. I never got my card, but I'm convinced that my mom accidentally lost it or threw it away and didn't want to tell me because she knew I would be upset at her. It may not have been worth thousands of dollars, but it's still something cool that I won and would have liked to have that would probably be worth like a couple hundred. I had a shell collection. The shells itself was worthless. But I had a fossilized purple urchin. My paleontology lecturer freaked out when I was telling my friend about it. Do you know why? He said if I still had it and if it was he thought it was he would pay 60,000 Australian dollars for it. Yeah, my mother chucks it years before that. I have never told her haha. I had the complete collection of James Gurney's Dinotopia books, from the large, illustrated books, to the smaller novels written later, that included his artwork. They are now completely out of print to my knowledge, and increase in value each year. Leonard Skinner had released an album where the album cover had the band members standing in a fire. Not long after the release of this album, some of the members died in a plane crash and they recalled the album so they could give it a more appropriate cover. My grandpa had one of the originals and he probably could have made a lot off it, if his mom didn't throw it away not knowing what it was. A massive hamper full of baseball cards that most were worth $0.50-$5. They were donated to the Salvation Army. My mom threw out my collection of my grandfather's watercolors. He was by no means a famous artist, but he was skilled and in his retirement lived off selling his paintings for a few hundred apiece, and I had upwards of 20. Not that I'd ever planned to sell them. Once he passed, I inherited quite a few of his works that I wanted to one day hang in my future home. I had a vision of having a hallway filled with beautiful landscape watercolors. I still can't believe they're gone. I think what hurts most is that my mom still doesn't think to throw away my deceased grandfather's paintings was a bad move on her part. I had one of those Apollo 13 POG rockets from the mid-90s, that's gotta be worth something, right? Probably not. I don't think I even had any good POGs in it. Had an original working Apple II. Saw one auctioned a few years back for the ludicrous amount. I got all excited. Went to look for it at my parents' place. Oh, that old thing? We threw it away about a month ago. I had a huge collection of Mad magazines, Asterix, Lucky Luke, etc. The former partner of my mother thought it would be fine to plaster the toilet with them. It looked cool and all, but neither did he ask nor apologize for taking my stuff to do with as he pleased. Not even on the top 50 of bad things he did to us, but strangely one I'm more upset about now. The only person in the world I'd love to see in pain/misfortune. The original Magic the Gathering cards. As a stupid kid, I just loved the pictures, got so many including special edition ones. Kept in mint condition. She threw them out saying I never used them, yet kept a box of old VHS tapes. I refuse to look at how much I lost because I know it's in the high thousands. Robots, lots of robots from the 60s and 70s, some were the tin type, some were plastic, some I haven't even seen on the internet, although I keep thinking someone has to have at least one left somewhere. All in total about 25 plus kinds of robots from my childhood, that my dad threw out because apparently when you turn 12, you don't need toys. This is probably why my wife makes fun of all the junk I keep, because I never got the choice to part with them, so now I hoard all remaining childhood possessions. Thank you for watching Reddit Space. Please subscribe if you love these Reddit stories.